Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today we are talking about the movie Pinocchio. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you're concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go ahead and watch the movie first before you watch this review. So Pinocchio is a live-action remake of the original 1940, I think, animated movie by the Walt Disney Company. Pretty much tells the same story as the original cartoon does with a few changes. And it's, of course, based on the original book by, I think his name's Carlo Collodi, right? Yeah. So, as far as what I liked about the movie, I thought overall the cast was pretty good. I liked Tom Hanks as Geppetto and Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Jiminy Cricket. It took me a minute to figure out who that was. Benjamin Evan Ainsworth played Pinocchio, and I thought he did a really good job. I wasn't familiar with him, but he's a child actor, and keeping with the sort of tradition of Disney using real children for their child roles, he did a good job. He was great. I liked Luke Evans as the coachman, and Keegan-Michael Key as the fox. I forget his name, Honest John, something like that. Giuseppe Battison as Stromboli was good. I didn't know who he was at first. I thought maybe he was Josh Gad or somebody like that. It just turned out somebody who I didn't recognize. I like Cynthia Erivo as the Blue Fairy, and Llewyn Lloyd as Lampwick. Kiana Lamaya as Fabiana, and Jaquita Talley played Sabina. So yeah, overall, all the cast I think did a great job with what they were given, and I enjoyed all their performances. I thought the music was good overall. Not only the original songs, of course, which are great classic songs. I think "When You Wish Upon a Star" is probably one of the most endearing of all the Disney kind of songs. It's one of those that's it's classic for a good reason, I think. And the additional music that was added in here by it was Alan Silvestri who did the music in this, and yeah, thought it was great. I really liked it. The story overall, of course, is pretty much the same story as Pinocchio, but yeah, I like the idea. A wooden boy wants to turn into a real boy. It's probably, I would guess, Italy's most famous fairy tale, and I think there's a good reason for that. The overall theme and moral of the story too, I think, is a good one. Teaching you that you have to make the right choices and do things to help others and tell the truth. These are all things that I don't think anyone can really disagree with. I like the look of Pinocchio on this, both when he was, initially made as a puppet, and then when he was sort of turned into, an animated sort of boy. Yeah, overall, I like the look. He pretty much looked like Pinocchio. There were some times where maybe the eyes, I didn't love them so much, or the nose looked a little funny, but for the most part, I like the way that it basically looked like the original cartoon drawing of Pinocchio. I like little cuckoo clocks there at the beginning. There's some kind of Easter eggs where they have various Disney characters and other things pop up in there, and that's pretty cool. There was the donkey transformation scene. I like that as well. I think people have pointed out recently how scary that scene was in the cartoon. It's nightmare fuel, and when you watch the transformation scene in the original cartoon, it's pretty scary, especially for little kids. And this one I thought was similar, but maybe a little less scary, which is an understandable change, so I can't really fault them for that. But still, I think to a small child, this would probably be, reasonably scary. And overall, I thought the pacing of the movie was pretty good. I think it was, I forget now, I think it was about 2 hours, hour 50 or something like that. And I don't know, I thought the pacing was pretty good because it was over before I knew it. So I wasn't too surprised, or I guess I was surprised that it was already over. So that was good. As far as what I disliked about it, I didn't love the beginning. I think it maybe just took me a second to kind of get used to exactly what was going on and how they were doing it, the way that Jiminy Cricket's kind of breaking the fourth wall, which he does in the cartoon, actually. But just, I didn't quite believe the way it was going. I think I was a little distracted because the impression of Jiminy Cricket was pretty good, but I'm just going, who is this? Whose voice is this? Kind of sounds like Jack Breyer, but I know it's not him. And it took me forever to realize who it was. I actually just looked at my phone and it said, and I'm like, oh, okay, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Oh, there we go. And I could kind of hear his voice once I realized that. And it's a pretty solid impression. I think as far as actors who could do that impression, he did a pretty good job. But yeah, it took me a minute to kind of get into it in the beginning, kind of threw me off a little bit. I didn't exactly like how much they explained Pinocchio's name, which is funny because I was thinking I had a trivia question about this, and yeah, it comes from Pinehead. But the way he sort of explains it in the movie, I don't know if I needed that explained to me. I sort of liked knowing that trivial fact, I guess. Some of the CGI, I think my biggest issue in the movie is that some of the CGI in this movie was kind of bad, I thought. Maybe it was a stylistic choice. I'm not sure, but there's times when he's holding Pinocchio where you can, to me at least, you can sort of see his hands kind of bleeding through where they sort of keyed out the doll and everything. And inside the sea monster, I thought also looked really kind of bad. Although I've seen other people say they thought it looked good. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong there, but especially when he's holding Pinocchio or whenever a person is interacting, I guess I don't know a lot about CGI or how it's done, but I would assume what they would do is give him a real doll and then he would hold it, and then maybe the real doll would have like a green head and arms, and then they would key those out and replace them with the animated one or something, so the hands wouldn't look as weird when he was holding it. Maybe that is what they did, and maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, it didn't look as good as I expected, I guess. And Figaro, initially when I saw Figaro, I'm like, wow, Figaro doesn't look good at all. It looks like from a video game. It looks, the cat in Lightyear looked better than this. And then I saw the fish and I realized, oh no, they are going for this sort of realistic but also cartoonish sort of look with the animals. Which once I kind of got used to that, it was fine, but it was also kind of an interesting choice. I don't know if it's something I would have went with, but it does make sense for Figaro because he is pretty animated and he does go around. That being said, I feel like the Figaro in the cartoon had a little more personality than this Figaro did. Although I like this Figaro, and they did some fun stuff with him. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe I wanted a little bit more with Figaro. They added in Lorraine Bracco as the character Sophia. I guess I'm not really sure why they added that character. I mean, she does serve a point for the plot later, which is of course different than the cartoon because she's not in the cartoon. But yeah, I don't know if I necessarily needed it. I have nothing against Lorraine Bracco. She's a fine actress. She was in Hackers, so that's cool. I mean, I can't fault anyone for that, right? But yeah, I don't know if I needed it. She's got kind of an abrasive voice, and I get it for a seagull. It makes sense. It's kind of a role that maybe Joan Rivers would have played in the '80s or something. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't really understand why we added the character. There's also a lot more to Geppetto's backstory where they add in that he sort of, or they pretty much, yeah, imply heavily that he had a wife and a child at some point who died, which at first I thought was interesting because it makes sense, but they didn't really expand on it anymore. I guess maybe if they would have expanded on it more, it could have been interesting, but the fact that they just sort of brought it up and then didn't really address it seemed a little sort of half-hearted. I wish they would have followed through on that a little bit more. There is a Chris Pine joke that Honest John, I think is his name, that Keegan-Michael Key, right? No, Keegan-Michael Peel, whatever his name is. Yeah, Keegan-Michael Key makes. Jesus. There is a joke that he makes about Chris Pine that didn't really land too well for me, and it kind of it seems like it could be a little dated. The kind of thing that I don't know. Chris Pine, nothing against him or anything, but he's I don't know. It just seemed a little like very of the time, I suppose. There's, like I said, some changes that I didn't necessarily love. Jiminy Cricket doesn't really sing much in this one, or he did in the other one. And that surprised me because, Jesus, I can't remember his name. Joseph Gordon-Levitt knows how to sing. He's a singer. He sang in the 500 Days of Summer. He does music projects where he sings and everything. So, yeah, I kind of expected him to sing. And I was surprised that he didn't sing much in this. That being said, I really did like Cynthia Erivo's song as the Blue Fairy, and I thought she did a good job. Although I noticed they didn't have her in here as much. She is in the very beginning, and she sort of turns and gives him the ability to, become real, animated. But yeah, in the cartoon, she pops up a couple times. I'll watch the cartoon again after this. And yeah, in this one, she just kind of shows up at the very beginning. Pinocchio doesn't become real at the end of this one either, which in the cartoon, Blue Fairy shows up at the end and she turns him into a real boy. And they changed Monstro, who I believe is still called Monstro in the cartoon, but he was just a regular whale, I think, just like a blue whale, I think, or maybe a sperm whale or something. And in this one, they changed him into some sort of a sea creature, which I guess I don't necessarily understand why they felt the need to make that change. Tom Hanks does a little bit of singing in this, and he's not a great singer, and he's not really singing. It's this kind of talk singing kind of thing he does. But it's a song they added called When He Was Here With Me, and I didn't love it. It was, I believe it was Glenn Ballard did that along maybe with Alan Silvestri. Yeah, they added a couple songs, and that one wasn't my favorite. Although the song they added with the young woman, Fabiana, I like that song. So although her character does this sort of ventriloquism thing, which I was a little confused by because, the character that she's doing, Sabina, the dancing marionette, has sort of a French accent. And I'm like, oh, okay, the little girl sounds kind of like her. She does a decent, fake French accent. All right. But then they show her mouth and it's not moving. I'm like, oh, she's doing ventriloquism. But, I don't know much about marionettes, but I don't understand why you would be doing ventriloquism with a marionette. Like, can't they not see you in the point of that? Like, why would you That's more for like a puppet that sits in your lap where you see your face. Maybe I'm wrong there. I don't know, but that just seemed odd to me. And like I said, the ending I didn't love. Instead of him turning into a real boy, they just kind of walk off. I guess so. In the cartoon, Pinocchio uses his wish. I don't know. Does he use a wish? I don't know. In the cartoon, basically, Pinocchio seems like he almost dies, and Geppetto takes him home, and then he starts crying, and then the blue fairy shows up and saves Pinocchio. In this one, Pinocchio, like Geppetto almost dies. Pinocchio uses his wish to save Geppetto, I believe, and then they walk away. I kind of actually forgotten. But either way, they walk away, and then Jiminy Cricket says, like, some say he turned into a real boy. Maybe that's true, maybe not. And it's like, what? Again, I don't necessarily understand that choice. Maybe they thought that was problematic, having him want to be a real boy, or maybe they're kind of going for this lesson that he already was a real boy or something, or accepting who you are. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, I didn't love that. So other than that, the movie is directed by Robert Zemeckis, who of course is known for doing Forrest Gump and Castaway with Tom Hanks. Probably most famous for Back to the Future. He also did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is a movie with animated characters interacting with real people, just like this one. More recently, he did Flight and that Welcome to Marwen, I think it was called. It was written by, I believe, him and Chris Weitz as well, who was he wrote About a Boy, Ants, Rogue One, co-wrote a lot of these. The Cinderella adaptation recently, the live-action one. But he got famous, I guess. He and his brother wrote and I believe directed the American Pie first movie, although I don't think he was credited, but they both, I believe, directed that. It's based on the classic book by Carlo Collodi. And music, like I said, done by Alan Silvestri. Famous, he did the Back to the Future soundtrack, a bunch of other stuff. And then more recently, he did Avengers 3 and 4, Endgame and Infinity War, I believe. Glenn Ballard did some of the lyrics, I believe, for the new songs they did. There's another competing Pinocchio movie coming out, I believe, in December on Netflix, directed by Guillermo del Toro. His is going to be more of a dark sort of adult version of it, I believe, and it's going to be more animated. I think it might be stop motion, as a matter of fact. Could be interesting. I think Ewan McGregor's in that, some other people like that. But it got me thinking, I guess, especially with Tom Hanks in here, he was fine as Geppetto, and he kind of looks like the cartoon Geppetto. But I guess the way we're kind of pushing more toward like casting people who are the same kind of race and ethnicity as the characters, I'm kind of surprised they didn't get someone who was Italian. There's plenty of like famous Italian actors who could have played Geppetto, and it got me thinking about who could have worked. So of course there's Robert De Niro, one of the most famous Italian actors in the world, who could have worked, and I could actually totally see him doing it, and I can see it not being that good. Or even Al Pacino, which for whatever reason, to me, Al Pacino doing Geppetto seems hilarious, and I would totally watch that. And then Martin Scorsese could direct it. He's Italian, You could get Leonardo DiCaprio as Jiminy Cricket, right? Russell Brand could be the coachman. Oh, he's not Italian, but basically, I feel like Luke Evans is just playing Russell Brand there anyway. So why not? Let's do it. Let's do three Pinocchio movies in a year. So yeah, this is a movie though where the Rotten Tomato score is pretty low. People are not liking this one very much. I believe the critic score at the time I looked it up was 29, and the viewer score was 39. So people like it a little bit more, but people aren't liking it very much. And it had a $150 million budget. I believe it was at one point supposed to be released in the theaters, but they had another live action adaptation that didn't do well. I forget what it was, so they decided to do it this way. It is a Disney Plus release, so if you've got Disney Plus, it's on there, for free as part of the regular service that you're already paying for, which the price is going up, by the way. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, though, as far as a movie that is available on Disney Plus, that I didn't have to pay extra for or go to the theater for, I feel like I liked it more than most people did. I went into this with kind of low expectations. I didn't hate Pinocchio. I didn't love it. I haven't seen it in probably 20 years, the cartoon. But, I walked away kind of pleasantly surprised by it. I thought the music was good. I thought the performances were mostly good. Tom Hanks, maybe not the greatest, but definitely better than he was in that Elvis movie. So my score on this one, I think, is going to be a 6 out of 10. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but I, certainly didn't regret watching it or anything like that. So if you saw the movie, let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night, and I will see you here again next week.